I call this meeting for the Newman-Crows Landing Unified School District to order. May I please have you stand for the flag salute? Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I have some action to report out of the closed session. In closed session, moved by Mrs. Hurst and second by Mr. Wallace with a vote of 4-1 with no abstentions. The board took action to approve a settlement agreement arising out of a special education dispute in OAH case number 20201202626 and 2021020479. A settlement agreement has been reached by the parties.
Mrs. Conforti, since it was a 4-1 vote, I will need to know who voted.
Okay, the person, you want to know the person who,
I'll just put it, I'll put the
You
roll
need to
call.
read them publicly.
yeah, I need to read.
Got it?
Vote for was Mrs. Hurst, Mr. Bazar, Mr. Wallace, and Mrs. Conforti. Against was Mr. Snodderly. Okay. Public communication, agenda and non-agenda items. Complaints against specific district employees should be resolved through the district's personnel complaint procedure. The right to address the board does not exempt the speaker from any potential liability for defamation. The proceedings of the board are recorded and are part of the public record. Any individual who requires disability-related accommodations or modifications, including auxiliary aids and services, in order to participate in the board meeting, should contact the superintendent or designee in writing. Members of the public may address the board on agenda and non-agenda items. Members of the public are encouraged to submit public comments via email at nfox@nclusd.k12.ca.us. Comments must be received by 2 p.m. on the day of the board meeting. Please limit your comment to 250 words or less. If you are unable to email a public comment, please contact Nancy Fox. Leave a phone number with your question or comment at 209-862-2933 prior to 2 p.m. on the day of the board meeting. Please limit your comments to 250 words or less. For public comment, submit by mail or phone. Please provide the following: name, phone number in case we need further clarification, address is optional, affiliation if any, topic or item on the agenda you wish to address. Please limit your comment to 250 words or less. We have a special guest today. We have Supervisor Chance Condit, who has something to be announced.
Well, thank you, board, for allowing me to come present this today. I wanted to recognize your superintendent, Ms. Randy Philpott. On behalf of the Stanislaus County Board of Supervisors, Mr. Philpott, thank you so much for your years of service and dedication to this school district. You've done a wonderful job, and I wish you nothing but the best in your future endeavors. Thank you again.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
All the best.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for allowing me to do that.
You're eligible to run for board next. Who would you run against? Yeah, be your president.
Yes, we live in the same neighborhood. Approval of the agenda. May I please have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Mrs. Hurst, may I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? It is passed 5-0. Information discussion items. School of the month is Von Renner.
And the quote that you see on the screen is significant because it has been our mantra this year at Von Renner. In the middle of difficulty lies opportunity. Innovation doesn't always present itself immediately, but can provide opportunity. This is how we choose to look at our educational circumstances through the pandemic at Von Renner Elementary. Looking at the different areas of change and improvement at Von Renner, we'll look at technology, curriculum, student engagement, and social and emotional learning. The evolution of technology at our school and in our district has been fast-paced. Zoom was new to most of us a year ago and is now a necessary part of how we do school. This platform, as well as our other electronic programs, have helped shape our school year. Some of these programs include Lexia, our ELA program, Zern, our elementary math program, Footsteps to Brilliance for primary reading, Rosetta Stone for language development, Google Classroom, our platform to house all of our electronic programs, Stride for math and ELA, iStation, our DLI language development program, and as well as ST Math and Mystery Science. Last year during summer school, we couldn't have students in person, so teachers designed Bitmoji classrooms. Within those classrooms are interactive icons that students can click on for reading, art projects, math, PE and movement programs, to mention just a few. Our curriculum is focused on key standards by grade level, and these grade level groups have worked to identify and focus those standards. In our blended learning model, teachers are concentrating on ELA and math concepts, with science being incorporated into math and social studies into English language arts. Student engagement is a key component of student learning, and with students studying over Zoom and with the ABER camera, we have two examples. The first clip is Ms. Dulce Garcia in a kindergarten DLI class, and the second clip is Ms. Arlie Virgin in a 4th grade DLI class.
Ok, vamos a ver. Let me see, ¿quién está aquí? Buenos días, Mateo. Buenos días, Sebastián. Buenos días. Buenos días, Noah. Buenos días, Ariel. Ruby. Buenos días, Ruby. Buenos días, Adán. Adrián, Patricia y Yureli, prendan su cámara. Buenos días, Erika. Buenos días, Damián. I'm here. Buenos días, Yureli. Buenos días, Esteban. Buenos días. Buenos días, Camila. Buenos días, Gabriel. Do I need any of my papers? Okay, once again, what time is it? Okay, here we go. Before we start, the most important thing is to know what we are doing today, which is our objective. So mirrors up. I will be able to add
The student social and emotional well-being has been a priority for us at Von Renner. Counseling has continued for students, one-on-one through Zoom, as well as classroom presentations for our small groups. We also provide parent outreach, which includes our very popular Coffee with a Counselor program. Our food services staff has done a fabulous job distributing produce boxes and lunches to our students and families. The district has distributed over 500,000 pounds of USDA boxes into the community since the program started, and Von Renner typically distributes about 8,000 pounds of those boxes per week. From March of 2020 to March of 2021, our Von Renner kitchen staff has distributed over 77,000 lunches to our students. And we appreciate our food services and the bridge that they've created in feeding our students and our community. Remember, it's always a good idea to be kind. We thank you for your attention and the opportunity to present to you this evening.
Now we are going to hear from our student rep, Mr. Diego Garcia. Mr. Garcia.
Good afternoon. I'm here once again to deliver you another board report on the wonderful happenings over at Orstema High School. Grab your popcorn. So, of course, we were able to return to a hybrid model, which is super just exciting to finally be able to physically engage with other students. I think that this isn't even just based on the students, but I think that admin and teachers and everyone can agree that being in person and having those physical interactions with everyone just alleviates so many of the stresses that we are currently still undergoing, just as a people in general. So with that said, so sports seasons have sadly come to an end. You know, in general, they usually feel pretty short, but this one especially, of course, but hey, we were able to have one, and that's all that truly matters. We just had our last football game up against El Camino High from Sacramento, which is a very big high school, plus we won. So we'll take our trophy. Aside from that, clubs are also coming to the end of their school year, as we'll refer to it. I'm not sure what the proper terminology would be, but yeah. So people are out there scouting for potential officers. There were just interviews today for the new FFA chapter officers for next year, and so on and so forth. So just looking out for the current under and upperclassmen that will be helping to carry on, you know, the legacy for these clubs. FFA students are receiving their livestock projects. In fact, lamb kids arrive. The lambs for the students arrive this week, I believe. So that's pretty exciting. Overall, just activities are wrapping up. There is class fundraising going on currently for the class of 2022. I believe it is a popcorn fundraiser. So if you have any current juniors, please support them. Apart from that, they also had the awards night just on Saturday, where they recognized all of our hardworking athletes. The Tosca scholarship was due back in March, right? No, some time ago. My brain is very, you know, all over the place currently. But yeah, so Tosca and other scholarships are still going on, and as well, juniors are finally having the opportunity to apply for things over the summer as well, internships, etc. Things that would just help them prepare them for whatever their future goals are. Apart from the summer camp that many departments as well at Orstema, as well as all the other schools here in the district, are planning to facilitate and maintain in order to get some much needed student interaction. The National College Decision Day is coming up on May 1st, so plenty of other students are still debating where they would like to be attending. So that's super exciting to see where my class is going to be ending up. There is a senior luncheon tomorrow where they will be delivering us pizza, which is perfect because I don't feel like buying it. Currently, there are some conflicts between senior interviews and upcoming AV testing, but between a group of students who is advocating for a much more, what's the best way I want to put it? I guess just finding a way that's manageable and equitable for not just AP students, but as well as all students. So we are currently in the midst of figuring that out between admin and us as well. So a very gratifying effort, I would say. I think it's nice to see students advocating for, what's the word I want to put it? Just advocating for themselves and for their educational goals, and also seeing the admin coming together and being receptive to that. I think that is something that we just need in general. It really demonstrates a lot of progressivism that I think, we could definitely be using. State testing and SAT testing is coming up for juniors. So if you're a junior, oh well. And overall, students are just adjusting overall to the environment, and things are looking forward. People are getting vaccinated, etc. It's a very exciting time. I will say that. Of course, it's coming to the end, but I'm kind of fine with that because I'm tired. So overall, that's all I've got to say.
Thank you, Mr. Garcia. Now we're going to have a project update, Mr. Philpott.
Thank you. So I want to give a shout out to Matt Vargas and his maintenance and operations folks, because they've been working hard through this last year. And some of the things that you probably don't see, or maybe you have noticed that have been some big improvements, have been the installation of touchless faucets in all of our sites, ionizers in the air conditioning units that have helped a lot with any kind of infection being passed through the HVAC, and then portable wash stations at all of our sites as well. And then also, during the big winds that we had at the beginning of this wind season, we lost a light pole over at Barrington. And when it came down, Mr. Vargas noticed that what had happened was actually it had rusted all the way through the top, because the contractors that put it in had forgot to put on the top piece. So water had been going down there for years. So he actually renegotiated that, even though it was no longer under warranty, renegotiated with CJ Brayton, our contractor that built the school, and they're going to rectify that for us and improve and replace all the lighting, lights. So kudos to him on that. He also was a big part of actually negotiating a refund of an overcharging by AT&T to the tune of about $200,000. So he's been busy with that. Some kind of facility stuff that's been going on is that we finally replaced the very old playground at Bonita, which was, I hadn't seen that kind of playground since I was probably in elementary school, but replaced it with some very nice new ADA compliant playground equipment, which I would encourage you, if you haven't had a chance, to go out there and see it. I think it's not only looks great, it's going to be fun for the kids, but it really kind of improved the look of of the outside as well. And then also kind of a shout out to Jim Jasper, who has been always has been just a helpful person with our, not only our district, but also with the high school. And he had an idea several years ago that we needed to somehow get the ditch that is along Orastemba Road next to the softball field and baseball fields fixed, so that there's actually a pipe there instead, and it's filled in, because right now it's pretty dangerous. People do tend to drive fast sometimes after school, but along that road, and could fall in that. But most importantly is it will just improve the look of that area too. I'm pleased to see it looks like it's finally coming to fruition. He's been really pushing with CCID because it's a CCID pipe, pushing with the city. And then with our partnership, it looks like we're going to be able to get started very soon on rectifying that issue and replacing the fence line there as well, because it's kind of coming down a little bit. But the other thing is to just make it look more like a sports complex, which is what we've always intended. So that'll be a big plus. And of course, I know that everybody's kind of wondering what's going on with the pool and the tennis projects. Things kind of go on at a slow pace sometimes to kind of get things done. We're still waiting for some testing of the soil to be done at the corner there at Hardin and Park Street. So we can demo that house. We had to, because the county requires a pool to have access to restrooms within 300 feet. We had to flip, actually, the pool was supposed to go in that corner. It's now going to have to go closer to where, well, really almost where the tennis courts are now, up closer to the locker room, and then put the tennis courts where basically at the front of that property where the house is currently. In retrospect, that probably makes more sense, but it will be compliant and be very close actually to restrooms that will qualify for that build. So things are taking a little bit of time there. We're hoping that at some point we'll be able to come back to you and say we've gotten to bid, but at this point it hasn't even gone to DSA yet because we're still trying to nail down some of these issues like the soil testing and things like that. So that's a kind of a brief update on our projects, unless there's any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Philpott. I'd also like to thank all of the staff and the community for taking time to answer our survey pertaining to our schools. We received 248 responses, which gave us a great deal of information. We were able to use the information gathered to help us in our search for a new superintendent. We also met with some staff so that they could give us some specific information that board members had questions about. We are on track for our timeline, and we will hold interviews on April 28th and 29th. We must approve a superintendent's contract at a regularly scheduled board meeting, which would be May 10th. So we're hoping to do that. But the responses gave us a lot of insight into what the district wanted and will help us and lead us in our search. So thank you very much. Okay. First reading of the earthquake emergency procedures and other board information will be our homework. Okay. Action items, consent calendar. The consent calendar items are routine in nature and usually do not require board discussion. Individual items may be removed by board members and presented for discussion and separate action. The consent calendar will be adopted by a roll call vote. Okay. May I have a motion to accept the consent calendar?
Second.
Mr. Bazar?
Aye.
Mrs. Hurst?
Aye.
Mr. Snodderly?
Aye.
Mr. Wallace?
Aye.
And Mrs. Conforti votes aye. It's passed 5-0. Accept the Williams Settlement Uniform Complaint Report for January, February, and March. Is there any discussion on that?
There were no complaints during that period of time.
Oh, fantastic to our staff. Thank you. May I have a motion to accept the Williams Settlement Uniform Complaint Report?
So moved.
I'll second
Mr. Bazar?
that. Aye.
Mrs. Hurst?
Aye.
Mr. Snodderly?
Aye.
Mr. Wallace?
Aye.
And Mrs. Conforti votes aye. Accept the ID Bailey Audit Report. Is Mrs.
So again, what I can tell you is that there were no findings. You want to skip to page 90, you'll see that on there.
Yes.
First time in history.
Yeah.
No student body.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a nice, it was a long report.
Yeah, it was a long report.
I had
Well,
markings
they're
all
always,
over mine.
they're always long, but you start at if you're a superintendent, you start at the back and you read the findings first, and then
Oh, I
that's how you
didn't,
do that.
I read through the front. May I have a motion, may I have a motion to accept the ID Bailey Audit Report?
I'll make the motion.
May I have a second?
Paul second.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Wallace. Mr. Bazar?
Aye.
Mrs. Hurst?
Aye.
Mr. Snodderly?
Aye.
Mr. Wallace?
Aye.
And Mrs. Conforti votes aye. Passed 5-0. Approve resolution number 20-21/10, place Christine Bringazzi, okay, on the reemployment list for a period of 39 months. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Bazar,
I'll vote aye.
Mrs. Hurst,
Aye.
Mr. Snodderly,
Aye.
Mr. Wallace,
Aye.
and Mrs. Conforti votes aye. Passed 5-0. Resolution number 20-21/11, teacher assignment.
These are standard resolutions for teachers that are still earning their partial credential.
Okay, thank you. May I have a motion?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Mr. Bazar,
I'll vote aye.
Mrs. Hurst,
Aye.
Mr. Snodderly,
Aye.
Mr. Wallace,
Aye.
and Mrs. Conforti votes aye. It's passed 5-0. Accept the Newman-Crows Landing Unified.
There's one more resolution.
Yeah.
40,
There's two.
number 6.
I only have one.
Yeah, there's another teacher one.
Oh, approve resolution 20-21/11, teacher assignment. 12, sorry, 12. May I have a motion?
So moved.
A second?
I'll second that.
Mr. Bazar,
Aye.
Mrs. Hurst,
Aye.
Mr. Snodderly,
Aye.
Mr. Wallace,
Aye.
and Mrs. Conforti votes aye. Accept the Newman-Crows Landing Unified School District Sunshine proposal for negotiations for the 2022 academic year and successor agreement with CSEA number 551. Mr. Philpott?
Excuse me. This allows us to start negotiations with CSEA.
Thank you. May I have a motion?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Bazar,
Aye.
Mrs. Hurst,
Aye.
Mr. Snodderly,
Aye.
Mr. Wallace,
Aye.
Mrs. Conforti votes aye, passed 5-0. Accept the NCLUSD Sunshine proposal for negotiations for the 2021-2022 academic year for the Newman-Crows Landing Teachers Association. Say
So moved.
second.
I'll second it.
Mr. Bazar,
Aye.
Mrs. Hurst,
Aye.
Mr. Snodderly,
Aye.
Mr. Wallace,
Aye.
Mrs. Conforti votes aye. Approval of CSEA number 551 and NCLUSD 2020-2021 reopener agreement. Mr. Philpott.
So again, so this mainly just is language cleanup from the 2021 school year here. And I'd recommend that you just approve the language. There's no money involved.
Thank you. A motion, please?
I'll make that motion.
A second?
I'll second it.
Mr. Bazar,
Aye.
Mrs. Hurst,
Aye.
Mr. Snodderly,
Aye.
Mr. Wallace,
Aye.
Mr. Wallace, Mrs. Conforti votes aye, passed 5-0. Approve resolution number 20-21/13 proclaiming Staff Appreciation Week, May 16th through the 22nd of 2021.
If I may, I think it's important just to read into the record that it is very important that we always appreciate our staff. We do have a terrific staff. April 21st is Administrative Professional Day. May 1st is School Principals Day. May 4th is Day of the Teacher. May 12th is School Nurses Day. And May 16th through May 22nd is Classified School Employee Week. With the pandemic, it's been a little difficult to do a lot of the things we've done in the past, but I want to just go on record that we do appreciate so much the work that they have done for our children.
Yes, I believe, I mean, it's a shame that we can't have them and do our normal, but next year we'll make it twice as good. May I have a motion to accept that
So
resolution?
moved wholeheartedly.
Thank you. May I have a second?
I'll half-heartedly second. No, that's,
No, you did.
I'll second that.
Mr. Bazar,
Aye.
Mrs. Hurst,
Aye.
Mr. Snodderly,
Aye.
Mr. Wallace,
Aye.
and Mrs. Conforti votes aye. That's passed. Future agenda items. We have recognition of the student body board member. Mr. Garcia, I think you have some news. Something happened today? Did you make a decision? Would you like to tell us all?
Okay, so for the peanut gallery currently listening in, as of today, I am officially going to be a bear studying at the University of California, Berkeley.
All right.
Thank you.
Have a great, we'll miss you.
Berkeley has the best graffiti in the elevators. Have you been up there?
Most attractive part of the university. Forget, all the public programs and graffiti.
I always enjoy going up there just to read the graffiti.
We're going to honor retirees. I wish we could do it more in person. The school of the month will be Barrington. Okay, Mr. Philpott, your report, please.
Well, I just want to simply say that I've texted all of you the dates today for graduation for the high school is May 28th. The intention is to actually do the graduation in the stadium. We're going to follow the guidelines per public health, and we believe that there'll probably be about 4 guests of each graduate to be able to sit in the stadium and socially distanced. So there'll be some rules going out that'll be explained to everybody closer to that event. Also, prior to that, actually, May 7th, 8th, 14th, and 15th is the prom. And the prom is going to be, the reason why it's split up into 4 groups is so we can actually socially distance enough kids. And so the doors open, I said the doors, it's actually outside, it's in the quad area. But they'll open at 7:30. The prom itself will be run from 8 to 11 p.m. They are actually building their own dance stage for this event. So I always look forward to prom and coming up, seeing what kinds of creative things that they do. And so we're looking forward to that.
Mr. Garcia?
Just to kind of add to that, I am on the prom committee this year, and these students are working incredibly hard to make sure that we can do the best that we can to, may give some sense of normalcy, especially for our seniors. For those interested in the theme, because at the end of the day, that's what everyone wants to know. We are doing The Secret Garden, which you probably read as a child. I did, and I loved it. Granted, it's been like 10 years, but I still read it. But it's going to be very floral. We have like a lot of really nice ideas, especially with wisteria, which is going to look super nice. I think that this is going to be definitely a prom to remember. We're not doing it at the stadium, so it's going to be a prom to remember either way. But I'm very excited and I'm very proud of all the students, and as well for Mrs. Stearns and Mr. Lane as well for helping to advise us throughout this whole process, especially considering the fact we're doing a year's worth in 3 weeks. So very excited about that.
We're really excited too, because there are surrounding districts that are not having proms. So as a district, we've tried very hard to do that. May I please have, Mr. Bizarre, do you have a report to give or statement?
As a parent,
as a parent of a student who's a junior, I was happy to see the kids going back to school. I know we're close to the end of the school year. If it's at all possible, I would recommend that we start adding days or allowing kids to go, say, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. I don't know if that's possible. I'm not trying to actively make a proposal here tonight, but I know that some of the classes have fairly good participation on some of the days, and at least it's been reported to me by several kids that there are a couple of classes where they're the only student in the room, or there's only a couple of kids in the room for the live classes. And it seems to me that then maybe there's a possibility we could extend it then, so that if kids want to go to school for 4 days a week, that might be a possibility. I realize again, it's right at the end of the year, and to make changes maybe it's possible, but I guess had we known what type of participation we were going to have,
it would have been nice to have that possibility. Other than that, at least again, for my junior, I noticed an immediate improvement. The other thing that improved his attitude was the return for sports. He happens to be on the golf team, and just the fact that they could go and see again classmates, I think makes a big difference. So
It's got to be tough.
I don't know if other parents had that same experience. I think so. Again, just talking to my son's friends, but I don't know. Again, hopefully we've turned a corner. This is getting behind us, this COVID thing, because I think we absolutely shouldn't close the schools again. If next year we encounter some kind of disaster when there's some type of new virus or a mutated virus, at least this board member is going to vote against closing the schools, because I just see an improvement now with the partial reopening, and certainly I'm optimistic that we're going to go back to normal next year. I hope so. I would be resistant to anything else. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Bizarre. Mr. Snodderly.
Really don't have much to add. I agree with Mr. Broussard's statement. I don't know how many kids are getting. Good thing I didn't cuss, huh? Sorry. No, I agree that, I hope our schools are open fully next year. I don't know if our students are getting vaccinated yet. I don't know if we have local clinics going on here, we're going on. Do want to get together maybe with Paul to talk about mental health issues, the LCAP coming up, and look forward to the superintendent interviews. It's like, why do you want to do this? That's all I have. Why would you?
Thank you, Mr. Snodderly. Mr. Wallace.
I'd like to report out that I had a meeting with Principal Pruitt and Assistant Principal Sharp at OHS, really it was Assistant Principal Sharp that sort of led me to have this meeting. She is her background, as probably most of us remember, is that she's a pupil services person, so she kind of understands as well or better what's going on with mental health in our district as everybody else. As we've sat here and we've passed a lot of money, passed a lot of budgets, and added a lot of positions of people that are doing mental health with our district. And I was just meeting with them to kind of find out where we are. And I know that as the LCAP process has continued this year, we're hearing a lot of requests for more people with mental health. And I'll give credit to Mr. Snodderly, who actually said, gosh, we've added a lot of budget. What are the new folks going to do? And so that was sort of we talked a lot about where we are now and what we have to do. Why do we need to emphasize this in LCAP? And so the answers is that we have added a lot of mental health capacity. And what those people are doing is working with students and in some cases working with families. There's a variety of people at most of our campuses have somebody in the mental health field, and they are doing things like group and individual therapy with students. We are doing a lot more things in looking for students who are having mental health issues. I think that we're really coming to grips with the fact that with COVID, with changes in generations, with the very healthy thing that we now acknowledge mental health. I think that maybe back in my days, if you were feeling depressed, you kept it to yourself, and kids are learning now that this is something that needs to be brought up and dealt with. So we are actively, Mr. Philpott's working on a program of helping us understand when students and faculty, I assume, are in a traumatic situation, when they're undergoing trauma, when they're having issues that affect their mental health. Superintendent Kuykendall is working on a program that is much more cell phone and data focused, but with the same concept of trying to identify students that are having a tough go of it. One of the things that Principal Pruitt and Assistant Principal Sharp brought up was that we're having crises, and we're seeing students that are maybe cutting themselves, that are attempting suicide, so we're being forced into dealing with crises, which you always have to do. I mean, certainly if it comes to your attention that somebody's in an immediate crisis, and kind of the interesting one is they're not all strictly in the mental health. You know, some of our students are facing physical health that kicks over into being a mental health. You know, perhaps a complication of diabetes is to have mental health symptoms. And then as we look around in our community, there's not a lot of places for these folks to go. Especially, there is a local nonprofit health center for people that don't have insurance. Center for Human Services offers some services for students. I think that Mr. Snodderly has seen some of their work. But a lot of our mental health clinicians are actually picking up for people that do have insurance, because you can't get to, there's nobody in this area. So, you know, you would be talking about taking your child out of school to get them to appointments and all that kind of stuff if you had to travel to Turlock or Modesto or the Bay Area to find somebody that could work with you. So what they kind of brought back to me is, what do you come looking for? Well, we're looking for capacity that's not crisis capacity. We're identifying more people when you know, certainly Mr. Philpott has found us a grant to go out and find these students that are under trauma, and we're going to identify these people. Now what? Now you need to get something to that student who, you know, is undergoing something traumatic today, but they're not going to turn their homework in over the next semester because they're still suffering that. And so how do we get them into something where we can help them? And that's kind of the capacity that they were describing us needing to add. And so we've got these folks.
So outside capacities. City students.
Unmute.
I'll repeat your question, Mr. Snodderly. You're saying that we're looking for things outside, and that's the impetus of what I've got here. And thank you for staying, Supervisor Condit. I appreciate, because at some point I will too return back to Supervisor Condit, where, you know, county is generally the supplier of mental health services, but I don't think that anybody that has any familiarity with mental health services in Stanislaus County thinks that they're a well-funded organization that has plenty of capacity. Yeah, and then being out here on the west side makes it even worse. You know, we know that we've faced these issues. We've wanted to include counseling as part of our expulsion process for years. And we find that these students get expelled and they wind up at a, you know, an offsite at another school for a year. But being able to get them into a counseling program is very difficult. So I think that some of that, what they're looking for is for somebody here that can increase that.
You know, I got custody of my grandson, 9th grade, new board member, walked in the high school, said, here's my grandson, has an IEP, he's got straight up, so he needs counseling.
Mm-hmm.
And so, now, there wasn't much happening at Orstead, but not their fault. But working through my grandson's insurance, which was Medi-Cal, ended up getting him some limited ADHD counseling. I think it was like 12 weeks or something. Turlock.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like one day they bring me in and say, okay, we're done. I go, but now what do we do?
Mm-hmm.
They go, well, you know, you're 12 weeks are done here. So good luck. Here's some names of people, but you know, he's getting close to 18, so it's kind of out of our hands.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Mr. Wallace, he was still muted in case you want to.
Oh. Yeah, Mr. Snodderly was relating his own with helping his grandson through this process, and that, you know, the counseling services that are available are very limited. His grandson was limited to 12 weeks of care and then was pretty much abandoned to Mr. Snodderly and his own devices.
And, you know, on the other hand, we're a school district. We're not a mental health place. We're not a, you know, locked facility. We're not a medical,
Yeah.
you know.
I think that I can share, you know, what Mr. Pruitt and Mrs. Sharp were feeling was exactly that frustration. I think that we're all stuck in the middle of, they're definitely frustrated by identifying these students and knowing that they're not performing to their academic abilities because of mental health issues. And at the same time, I think we all acknowledge that we are a school district. Mental health is a tough business to be in. And we're trying to weave a path. Yeah. Yeah, the consequences are huge. I mean, several of the mass shootings that we've seen lately have involved people with a history of mental health in their schools. And the consequences are huge. The consequences are huge on a much smaller basis. Just that student that can't get their homework done or can't pay attention to their lecture because they're overcome with some sort of grief or trauma or something is it's a really difficult thing. We know that it's holding back a lot of our students from reaching their full potential. And my hope is that eventually I can work with folks like Supervisor Conduit and we can be, because I agree with you, Vern, we're in the school business, but I also think that we can be really exceptionally good partners with somebody, be it a nonprofit or the medical community.
You know, when the state ended, you know, mental health, basically, they turned all these people out of the streets. You know, now look at the homelessness. You know, look at, you know, where the kids are. You know, their parents. So it's gonna be tough.
Thank you. Mrs. Hurst.
Wow.
Mrs. Hurst, are you unmuted?
I'm unmuted. Wow. Okay. Yes, definitely. And as Mr. Brazar said, I agree that I would like to see our students come back as much as possible, as long as it's safely and everything's taken care of and the students are taken care of. And I know that our staff has been working very hard. So I really appreciate that. I appreciate what Diego was saying, Mr. Garcia, that they're actually going to work on prom and graduation and everything. So ending it, I hope, on a much better note for a very, very difficult year. And maybe next year will bring different things. But as far as I'm concerned, it needs to be done safely. I need our students to be safe and healthy, physically and mentally. Thank you.
I tend to be the more optimist, and I'm thinking everything's going to change. One, Mr. Garcia did get his vaccination today, correct? And the more people that are vaccinated, the more the schools will open and be safe. I'm excited to see what's going to happen. I mean, I see students getting on the bus 2 days a week, and they're actually skipping to the bus. And this isn't just the little ones. The older ones are all excited that they have friends. They have their mask on, but they're being careful. So I have a couple seniors up at Diablo, and they've been really talking about the prom and graduation, and their parents are saying, well, at least we have some tickets. How many? We just found out it's 4, but it's safety, and if we could have more, we would, but we're going to be on the side of caution. I appreciate all the work that Mrs. Fox has been doing, helping us getting ready for all the interviews and everything that we've done to get ready for a superintendent. It's going to be difficult to lose the one that we have now. We haven't been able to super glue them. But we have a very difficult 2 weeks to go through. We have interviews, we have everything, but our staff and our community helped us with filling in the survey. So I wish you all a very safe and happy next month, and especially our seniors and the rest of our students. We're looking forward to keeping them safe and also educating them. Safety and then educating, they go together. And thank you. And Mr. Condit, we'd like to let the West Side be more than an orphan. And we appreciate all that you do, but we still need more. Maybe we should super glue you. But thank you. I call this meeting, I adjourn this meeting. May I have a motion to adjourn?
So second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Be safe and thank you.
Mhm.